Hello, this is Green Philosophy. I spent an entire day transcribing quotes from a presentation Shahid Bolsen did titled Community Sovereignty in an Age of Collapse. These are some of my favorite quotes. He's absolutely a public intellectual that's worth tuning into. Now, he has this incredible cadence and poetic way of delivering things, so I'm going to do my best, but I'd encourage you to check out his original work. Democracy is a fraud in the United States. You have lifetime judges installed by presidents who lost the popular vote. The United States does not have capitalism. Profit is public, but it has market rules for the poor. The United States is not a democratic republic, and it's not capitalist. They sacralize democracy and capitalism. When you come up with alternatives, they call it sacrilege. This is not a recession, this is a regime. In the USA, the New Deal is working a side hustle and cutting back on family time. The United States does not have capitalism. That includes competition. The military gets no bid contracts. That's corporatism, not capitalism. What's unfolding in the United States is not a passing phase. This is a structural transformation, and it's not in your favor. The conditions are a deliberate, systematic design. This is what is being pushed. Job insecurity is being normalized. Full-time employment is a relic of the past. Prices are rising. This is a slow suffocation. Your standard of living will not be able to be maintained. The labor market is being redesigned. Benefits are a new luxury. Banks are weaponizing debt. Banks want intergenerational debt. Credit cards, mortgages, and car loans will be used punitively. Home ownership is going to be a fantasy. The architects of our distress aren't going to help us. Stress is going to be your constant companion. Depression, anxiety, and sleeplessness are going to rise. Mental health services are going to recede behind paywalls. Crime is going to rise, not because of moral decline, but because people are getting more and more cornered. Neighborhoods are going to become more dangerous, not because people are getting worse, but because making your neighborhood more dangerous is what the system has programmed to happen. Childcare, education, and healthcare are going to become financial death sentences. You're going to have to choose between wellness and rent, between school books and groceries. This is what collapse in the United States looks like. Social bonds and community are going to fray. Local businesses are going to shut down. There's going to be fewer and fewer social activities. Time with family and friends is going to disappear, and you are going to retreat inward. You must resist that consciously. Survival is going to require rehumanizing things. Everyone who has significant assets, stocks, and real estate, and precious metals, and political connections, they are going to be fine. They are going to thrive. The wealthy will buy up more land and homes because your hardship is their opportunity. You are going to see the rise of extremism among the right and the far left and religious cults. You will see separatist movements fueled by the rage and pain and distrust that everyone in the society has against the institutions that are supposed to be serving them. People are going to move out of cities into cheaper areas, rural areas if they are smart. Downsize your debt in life as much as you can. Some people who are living on the street are there because they tried to maintain a standard of living they couldn't maintain. This is the opposite of FOMO, fear of missing out. How are you going to be able to dodge all of the bullets that are being fired at you from the economy? Once you realize that this model doesn't work for you and was never meant to work for you, you can start unplugging from it. Invest in what they can't take. your skills, and your community. Don't just prepare for scarcity, prepare for sovereignty. The elites can't take away your skills, your relationships, or your community. You don't need a new financial model. You do not need a new political model. You do not need a new economic model. You need a new civilizational model. You need a strategy for dignity in a world experiencing organized disorder. Our strategy must be ethical, cooperative, and intelligent. You cannot have a political or an economic revolution without first having a cultural revolution. Your money is not going to stretch very far. Your workload is going to increase. Your access to basic goods is going to decline. By 2030, your purchasing power is going to decline by 10 to 15%. Look for whole states and whole cities to go bankrupt. The government is going to deny we're in a recession and claim that we're in an economic recovery. By 2030, it's going to take 30 to 40% of your income just to buy groceries. If food banks were listed on the stock exchange, that would be the best investment you can make right now. Food banks are going to be booming like Starbucks was in the early 2000s. Start getting rid of your debt. Stop using your credit cards. Cancel your subscriptions. Put a few thousand in cash aside for emergencies. Hold a mix of cash, silver, and gold. Try and buy as many durable goods as possible right now. Start right now planting the seeds for longer-term solutions. The United States wants you to not know your neighbors and to be glued to your phones. In the United States, the power structure doesn't want us in community. They engineered our atomization and our isolation. The United States power structure wants us to be antisocial, rude, and obnoxious. They groom every man to act like a tough guy. They groom every woman to act catty. They want every person to stay triggered 24/7. If you're going to survive, it is going to be as part of a community. You can't be paranoid, spiteful, petty. You have to try and get along with people. You could create contributive systems rather than a competitive market, a shift from a consumer to a producer role. Each member contributes skills in return for necessities, food, goods, services, and education. You can organize neighborhood syndicates to import goods from tariff countries or directly produce goods with 3D printers. Community-run cooperatives. The state governments and the federal government are going to disintegrate. The state's only function is going to be police you, not to provide for you, not to protect you. Start to look at the state as an occupation force that you have to circumvent. The role of the state will be to disenfranchise, disempower, and subjugate you. Your community is like a people living under occupation. You're going to have to create your own system of order, management independent of the state and independent of the system. You have to create your own healthy culture locally so that the localized system that you build will have a humane, healthy, and moral priorities, unlike the state. We are moving towards total system collapse. This is not a zombie movie. Do you want to compare what life was like in 2000 to how it is in 2025? When you compare 2045 to today, it's going to be a dramatic and grim contrast. They do collapse in slow motion. They do it incrementally so that it becomes normalized. You need to start building now. Actually participate in your own survival. The whole underpinning of Western so-called civilization are flawed and they are toxic. That is why they built the systems. The scarcity model of economics, the exploitative mentality, that whole mindset is hostile. You need to transcend that. Even with money, you can come up with collective mutual support networks within your community. You can decide for yourselves how you're going to mediate the exchange of goods and services yourselves. You don't have to take their model. You don't have to take their approaches. You could establish credit systems internal to your communities. Develop some type of value-backed labor-based currency, digital or paper-based, an alternative currency that is issued locally, redeemable in goods and services from participating members. Your alternative currency system should be pegged to effort or contribution and not to fiat. Create a ledger where hours of labor are stored and redeemed for other labor, even if money gets devalued. These labor and alternative currency credits can be redeemed for educational access services, making economy into a social agency. Alternative currency, these types of projects exist in New York and Switzerland and other places. Imagine if you could secure your basic needs through an alternative local currency. Credit for work or credit for service, you could redeem that at participating stores and vendors and service providers instead of using dollars from your job. You could actually start saving money. It's going to be difficult for many people to accept the collapse of the United States. Economically, socially, and morally, it isn't the fault of China. It isn't the fault of immigrants. It isn't the fault of elections that didn't go your way. It isn't just about corrupt elites. The collapse of the United States was a philosophical defect. The United States built a civilization where the highest value was materialism. The United States built a civilization where worth was measured in consumption. In the United States, civilization, success meant accumulation. In the United States, GDP growth was more important than human dignity. In the United States civilization, they mistook endless accumulation for life's purpose. In the United States civilization, they starved their own souls of meaning. The United States championed individualism to the point of pathology, glorifying personal ambition and disdaining collective responsibility. In the United States, the economy was not designed to sustain, it was designed to extract. In the United States, culture was focused exclusively on short-termism, the addiction to quarterly profit, the election cycles, 24-hour news cycles, the internet, the inability to think past next week, much less the next generation. Everyone has to kiss the ring of the invisible hand of the market. In the end, American civilization didn't fall because it was attacked. It fell because it forgot what civilization even means. It forgot what it means to be human. Any path to reconstruction has to begin by recentering human life around meaning. A future United States civilization must balance individual initiative against communal obligation, building economies that are based on reciprocity, not robbery. Institutionalized long-term thinking, how to constrain the market within the boundaries of morality. Why on earth would you have accepted it otherwise? The United States needs reconstruction, not rescue, not reform, not restoration. The system you built cannot and should not be saved. You don't need to try and save the American system. You need to try and save yourselves from it. You need to jumpstart yourselves in the United States out of the habit of passivity. I'm accused of doom and gloom, but that is because you have been habituated to helplessness. You're going to have to face severe economic hardship in the United States. Frame economic turmoil not as the end, but as the end of a broken system. Economic turmoil is the delegitimization of a broken system. We have to trigger a cultural shift in the United States from consumption to meaning. The United States needs a shift from a consumption-based identity to a character-based identity. Your community is a non-aligned state that is navigating regional instability. You need to engage in a kind of micro diplomacy locally, like foreign diaspora communities and immigrant communities.